XM's Artist Confidential.
Artist.
Master. Virtuoso. Proficient at his or her craft.
Confidential.
Restricted for your ears only.
XM's Artist Confidential.
Access to artists you will only find on XM.
Artist Confidential.
Smart radio.
Intelligent interaction.
Timeless artists share their craft uncensored. No rules. And before a live audience in XM's Performance Theater.
This is Artist Confidential. From XM's Department of Original Programming.
My father used to play the balalaika. I guess he used to play at weddings and stuff like that. But my mother hid that fact from me. She never wanted me to be a musician, so I had to find out from other people.
Rush, celebrating their 30th year in music. Virtuosos of rock and technology.
Alex and I were both heavy fans of The Who and the Yardbirds and Zeppelin. And then a friend of mine at school turned me on to an album called Time and a Word by Yes, and it really changed my life.
And always one of rock's most celebrated bands.
Part of our audition process when Neil first came into the studio is we started playing that riff. He got right into it. We looked at each other and went, oh yeah, okay.
Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee share their imagination and their magic.
So we got to know him on the road, and Alex and I were going, this guy reads a lot.
Artist Confidential with Rush, an exclusive of XM Satellite Radio.
Now, from XM's Performance Theater, before a live audience, here is Artist Confidential host, George Taylor Morris.
Welcome to another XM Artist Confidential. This time we're going to mine north of the border with a band that's made the full circle in their musical journey, from a garage band to megastar rockers who really defined a generation of progressive music. And it looks like back to a garage band again. This is rock that really is a four-letter word. So please give it up for Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, Rush.
Thank you. How much are you paying these people?
Thanks for stopping by. It's all the time we have. Hey, welcome. Thanks for being here at XM.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. For those on the radio side of this, Geddy Lee, bass, vocals, keyboards, synths for Rush, and Alex Lifeson, guitars, many of them. So here we are, 30 years down the road from the beginning of your recording career, about 35 years since you were kicking around in garages and clubs in Canada, around Lake Huron, playing other bands' songs. So on your 30th anniversary, you could have done a new album, you could have put out an amazing box set, but something completely original. But what you really did was just turn the page back and gave us feedback to honor a lot of these bands you grew up with. This is a surprise for a lot of people, but was it a surprise for you when you sat down and figured out this is just kind of what you wanted to do?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was a friend of mine had suggested to me that maybe we want to think about doing that. And at first it was kind of weird. We thought, well, I don't know, do we really want to go to the hassle of learning all these songs that at the time seemed so difficult to learn? But then we started talking about it, and we started sending emails back and forth to Neil, and suddenly everybody got excited about the idea of playing somebody else's music for a change. And we started reminiscing about songs that we loved when we were growing up, and it just turned into a kind of a fun project. At the same time, we knew that if it wasn't working, it was no big deal not to do it, you know, so we had kind of nothing to lose. And Alex would come over to my house in the mornings, and we would just jam on these old songs and laugh a lot. So it turned out.
So did you have to go back and listen to them a few times to catch on? Or were these things because you played these, I guess, when you were...
Well, they're not particularly difficult songs to learn, although, like Geddy said back then, learning them, they were the most difficult songs you could imagine. But listening to the original versions, we realized that there were only 3 or 4 chords in every song, everybody's out of tune. Tempo's terrible. You know, they were, I don't know what they were thinking, but they were great. And they just, were so exciting. And it brought back so many memories. I mean, these songs we've played certainly in Rush, in the early days of Rush, and in other basement bands that we both played in, and we would jam together on songs like Crossroads.
Yeah, I think with the exception of The Seeker, I think we played every one of those songs in one crappy band or another. You know?
and it started out, we were thinking, maybe we'll just do 2 or 3 and make them available on our website, and then it kind of expanded to 5, and then by the time we got done with the basic tracks recording, we were up to 8. And I think if we'd had more time, we may have done 3 or 4 more, because it really ended up being a lot of fun, and it happened so quickly. We were able, we sat down for 2 or 3 weeks and worked through the arrangements, and we filtered a lot of stuff out, songs that we didn't think would really work. We went to the trouble of recording them, but if Geddy's vocals, for example, didn't fit or feel right to a particular song, then we passed on it. So outside of that, it was only 2.5 weeks for us to record all this stuff. Normally, for a Rush record, 2.5 weeks we're just almost through one song.
Well, yeah. So 2.5 weeks is usually lunch.
So this is the basement band you were in the beginning, except with chops now. I mean, you really... Now, you turned some of these songs... You certainly made them Rush songs. Mm-hmm. You turned them around nicely. There's a Who, The Seeker, or 2 if you want to count Summertime Blues, which is a lot of people put in that Who library. Got a little Foxy Lady thing going at the beginning of that. That was very nice. Yeah. That was... So were you thinking of doing a Hendrix song in this set, too? We did, actually. We worked up Manic Depression, and instrumentally, it was pretty good, certainly no Jimi Hendrix, but it was... Go on.
Well, he's older.
You look just like him.
But there's an example when Geddy put his vocals down on it, it just didn't seem right to us, and that's almost sacred, and it wasn't...
Yeah, Jimmy's breath on those records is about this wide, I mean, you can't take a skinny white guy from Canada and ask him to sing a Jimmy song. It just seemed wrong. And there were certain artists like that, like Led Zeppelin was another one, that there's so much personality in their playing that we didn't feel we could remove that personality from the song. And that's why we went really far back, too, to a period that some of those songs are starting to show their age. And we thought, well, it'd be fun to refresh them in a way.
Well, it's great to be able to hear the influences, particularly on your bass work. I mean, you certainly must have listened to John Entwistle and Jack Bruce when you were growing up. Crossroads is just a screaming track. Eric Clapton's got nothing on you, Alex.
Yeah, that song was fun to do, too, because we basically just left it as the three, we recorded it live in the studio, like in a room like this, and we really didn't do anything to it. We just moved the bass to one side and the guitar to the other side, and then I threw a vocal track on afterwards, and that was it. So
4 mics on the drums. I mean, it was very straightforward. We ran it down, I think, twice, and that was one of the takes. No click track. All of us in the same room at the same time. We don't really record like that anymore. We're sort of have made it so efficient, and everybody does their own thing. So it was really refreshing to be able to be in the room. Filled it with candles and lava lamps and some old rugs thrown down on the floor.
What kind of incense
couch
were you
in the
using?
corner. A special Canadian kind of incense.